Your compassion is murdering the revolution. The breath of a single remaining aristocrat is the death rattle of freedom.
Yes, yes.
Only cowards sacrifice their lives for the Republic. Jacobins kill for it. I warn you now, if we no longer find here the fire and hatred you had in you once, there remains for us no other course. We shall drive the dagger of Cato into our own hearts.
Take the trouble, Socrates, with you!
I demand the floor!
Silence,
Citizens, your cry of outrage ringing through the chamber was the one cue I was waiting for. Don't think we have failed to take in all this. We have missed nothing. We saw the enemy stir. We watched him gather his forces. But we did not sound the alarm. We trusted the people to look to their own defenses. Nor have they slept. They have swiftly armed themselves. We allowed the enemy to move out of his lair. We let him advance. Now he stands in the broad light of day with no cover. He's a sitting target. Every shot and stroke will kill. I repeat, the internal enemies of the Republic have resolved themselves into two factions, like two armies. Under banners of different colors, they march towards the same goal. One of these factions, the Hébertists, has been eliminated. In its grandiloquence and madness, it attacked the finest patriots of the Republic. They declared war on God and property to draw fire away from the monarchies. They deliberately caricatured the mighty drama of the Revolution. The triumph of Hébert would have reduced the Republic to chaos. But the blade of the law has struck down that traitor. But what do the foreigners care? So long as they have other criminals to do their work for them. That other faction still prospers and must be annihilated. That faction within urges us to be weak. Their battle cry is mercy. They would tear weapons from the people and deliver them up, puny and naked, to the kings of Europe. Never! The sword of the Republic is terror. The strength of the Republic is virtue. Virtue because without it, terror is corruptible. Terror because without it, virtue is powerless. Terror is the consequence of virtue. Terror is justice, swift, strong, and remorseless.
Look at that demure little bitch over there. She knows how to play her cards all right. Deals her husband hearts and spreads her legs for every other man. You women, you could make any man fall in love with a lie.
Don't you believe in me?
How should I know? We know little enough about one another. Everyone's sealed up inside his own horny hide. We reach out our hands to each other, but there's no contact. It's like leather scraping against leather. We're all of us alone.
But you know me, Danton.
Oh, yes, they call it knowing. You have dark eyes and curly hair and a nice complexion, and you call me Dear George. But what about there? What goes on behind there? There's nothing refined about our senses. Know one another. We'd have to crack open each other's skulls, scrabble in each other's brains, dragging out the thought.
May I ask why you're holding your fingers like that?
It's nothing.
Then don't do it. It's indecent.
Look, though, doesn't it remind you of something?
Yes, Julie, I love you. Like the grave. No, listen. They say there's peace in the grave. Peace and the grave, they're one. If that's so, I'm already under the earth, but I lie buried in your lap. Sweet, grave. Your mouth tolls my death knell. Your breasts are funeral mounds above me. Your heart's my coffin.
You lose.
A lover's gamble. It costs money like any other.
So you declare your love on your fingers, like a deaf mute.
Why not? They say it's the easiest way to communicate. Look how the game went. I committed adultery with the queen. My probing fingers with spiders. You, madam, provided the aphrodisiac. But the queen was wildly fertile, breeding jacks like rabbits. I'd never let my daughter play a game like that. The kings and queens and knaves lie on top of each other in one mountainous orgy.
They say that terror is the instrument of dictatorship and that our government smacks of dictatorship. I don't deny it, but only insofar as we use the same methods. If a dictator uses terror to enslave his brutish subjects, then as a dictator he is justified. If by this same terror you, the founders of the Republic, exterminate the enemies of freedom, you are no less justified. The government of the revolution is the dictatorship of freedom against tyranny. I tell you, there are still those who plead for mercy for the royalists. Mercy for these scum. Never. Mercy is for the innocent, the weak, the downtrodden. Mercy for suffering mankind. Only law-abiding citizens can claim the protection of society. In a republic, only Republicans are citizens. Royalists and foreigners are anathema. To punish the oppressors of mankind is merciful. To forgive them is barbaric.
Our Constitution must be like a filmy, transparent gown clinging tightly to a woman's body. Through it we can see the throb of each artery, the twitch of each muscle, the palpitation of each desire, each little judder and spasm of lust. Her body can be beautiful or not, just as it wishes. To hell with those who would drape a nun's habit over the bare flesh of our lovely, salacious France. Let's have naked gods, hot and eager goddesses, Bacchic rapture, songs of love from scarlet lips, orgies, wicked, aching, scalding, limb-dissolving love. We will, of course, never interfere with the vegetarian diet of those virtuous Roman republicans. Let Robespierre pick at his carrots in the corner, but we'll have no more gladiatorial carve-ups. In place of our martyred saints, divine Epicurus and Venus with her succulent arse must stand sentinel over the Republic.
Not content with disarming the people, they are trying to pollute the purest sources of their strength with vice. This is the most insidious, dangerous, and loathsome attack against freedom. These filthy practices are the time-honored stigma of the aristocracy. In a republic, this is not only a moral, but a political crime as well. The man of vice is the enemy of freedom. Just look around you. Those who once lived in garrets now ride in carriages and fornicate with ex-countesses and duchesses. We may well ask, have the people been plundered? Or whether the kings have supplied golden handouts when we see the tribunes of the people flaunting all the old vices and luxuries of the court, when we see these aristocrats of the revolution marrying rich wives, giving sumptuous banquets, keeping flunkies, playing dice, wearing fancy clothes, well, may we raise our brows in amazement at their intellectual pretensions, their so-called wit, and what passes for good taste. A short time ago, one of them garbled a classical historian in a most ludicrous way. I could satirize them if I wished. But I think the word portrait is complete. There will be no compromise, I say, with men who thought they could rob and fleece the people and hope to get away with it. Men for whom the Republic was a financial speculation and the Revolution a trade. Now, they are understandably terrified. They seek to stay the hand of justice with soft pleading. Their attitude is, we are not moral enough to exercise the terror. Pity us, law-giving philosophers, in our weakness. We dare not confess that we are vicious. Rather, we say to you, be not so cruel. Doubt not, my virtue-loving patriots, doubt not. Say to your brethren throughout France, the sword of the law will not rust in the hands of him to whom it was entrusted.
Danton, you must lead an attack at the convention.
I must, you must, he must. In 1 hour, we'll have 60 minutes less to live, eh, boy?
That's obvious.
Yes. Who's going to put all these grand ideas into practice?
Ourselves and all honest men.
Oh, that's a rather large and, I would say. In fact, it sets a gulf between us and them. Honesty'd grow hoarse trying to shout across it. What if we did join forces? You can lend money to an honest man, you can be godfather to his children, marry a daughter off to him, and that's about all.
If that's the way you feel, why did you start this fight?
Because Robespierre's hangers-on nauseated me with their spinsterish Puritan ethics. Mincing about, strutting like sawdust Catos. I wanted to give them a good boot up the arse, that's all.
You going?
I must get some air. These people and their political bullshit get on my nerves. If I might coin a phrase in passing... The Statue of Liberty's not yet been cast. The great furnace is red hot. You could still burn your fingers.
Then the spring came one year. Things were changing all around me. But I felt I had no part in it. It was so odd. I was cocooned in a strange kind of separateness. It was suffocating me. I looked at my body and there seemed to be two of me. Then they swam back into one again. About this time, a young man came to the house. He was very nice looking, often teased me, saying things. I didn't know what they meant, but I just had to laugh. My mother invited him often. And that pleased him. And me. In the end, we didn't see why we shouldn't as well lie next to each other between two sheets as sit beside each other on two chairs. It gave me more pleasure than his words. And I couldn't see why I should be allowed the smaller pleasure and denied the greater. We did it in secret. Often. And so it went on. I became like a bottomless sea that swallows everything deeper and deeper into itself. All men seemed to melt into one body. It was my nature. That's all there was to it. One day, my young man realized. He came one morning and kissed me as though he wanted to choke me. His arms tightened round my neck. I was terribly scared. Then he let go of me and laughed and said he'd almost done a crazy thing. He said something about Not wanting to end my fun too soon. It was all I had, and it wouldn't last long anyhow. Again, I didn't know what he meant. That evening, I was sitting by the window. I'm very sensitive. I can only relate to things around me through my feelings. I bathed in the sunset, sank into its crimson waves. A bit later on, there was a hubbub in the street. A crowd. Children running in front. Women craning out of windows. I looked down, and they were carrying him past in a great basket. His forehead was white as ivory in the moonlight. His hair was all wet. He drowned himself. I cried. It's the only time my life has ever stopped. Other people have weekdays and Sundays. They work 6 days and pray on the 7th. They have birthdays when they get sentimental. And every 12 months, they start thinking about the new year. I don't understand that at all. I know nothing of breaks in time. I never ever change. I stay as I am. A longing. A fire. A stream that flows on and on. My mother was so shocked by what I had become. She died of grief. People used to point at me accusingly. That's silly. It doesn't matter what people enjoy. Their bodies, red wine, flowers, paintings of the Madonna, children's dolls or toys. Enjoying yourself to the utmost is the best way of thanking God for the gift of life.
Why can't I grasp all your beauty to me at once? Embrace and contain every cubic centimetre of your flesh.
Danton, your lips have eyes.
I wish I were part of the air to flood and envelop you with my being. Break over you. Cover every luscious curve of your body.
I'm sorry, it just broke me up.
Well?
Out there in the street.
What?
There were these two dogs, a dirty great mastiff and a half-pint Italian poodle. They were trying to shaft each other.
So?
Well, it tickled me, that's all. It was most educational. Young ladies were watching from the windows. Never let them sit outside in this heat. Flies will be at it on their hands. It might make them think. Legendre and I have been through just about every single cell in this whorehouse looking for you. The little sisters of the revelation through the flesh kept grabbing at our coattails, asking for a blessing. Legendre is taking one of them through her Hail Marys at the moment. Though I think he may have to fast for a month afterwards. I brought 2 of the Vestal Virgins along.
Hello, Adelaide. Hello, Rosalie.
Long time. We never get a spare minute. On our backs day and night.
Well, your hips grow smoother by the hour, my pet.
Practice makes perfect.
Adelaide's looking the very picture of the girl next door. Her face is a fig leaf which acts as a screen for her entire body. What a leaf, what a tree. Splendid shade for such a wide carriageway teeming with traffic.
Well, I was nothing but a country lane before that character came along.
Oh, now, my pet, let's not be bitchy.
Do you know the difference between a Greek god and a French god?
No.
Think of Adonis. It's sows, not boars, who do for him today. The French Adonis gets his wound in the groin, not in the thigh. His blood curdles into quicksilver, not into rose petals. Oh, chloride of mercury, eh? The cure for all pox-ridden gentry.
Well, Miss Rosalie's a revamped torso. Only the hips and the feet are genuine. Genuine antique. She's a compass needle. What our North Pole repels, her South Pole attracts. Her waist is the equator. Anyone crossing that line needs to be ducked in mercury.
2 sisters of mercy. Each operates in a clap clinic. Their own flesh.
You're getting on my nerves.
And mine. You should have more respect.
Good night, children.
Good night, angels of Mercury.
Ah, I feel sorry for them. They only came for their supper.
Danton, I've been to the Jacobin Club. The delegates from Lyon read out a proclamation. They swore that they would wrap their togas about them, grit their teeth, and say as they raised the knife to stab themselves, "This won't hurt a bit."
And Robespierre.
He drummed his fingers on the rostrum and said that virtue must rule through terror. The phrase made the skin crawl on my neck.
It saws planks for the guillotine.
And Collo shouted out like a madman, they must all tear off their masks.
Their faces had come away with them.
I went straight to Robespierre and demanded an explanation. He struck an attitude like Brutus sacrificing his sons, said that he had absolutely no scruples where freedom was concerned. He would sacrifice everything to it himself, his brothers, his friends.
Well, that's true enough. You've only got to reverse the order. Put him at the bottom, holding the ladder for his friends to climb up.
Privilege isn't dead yet. The people are still starving. It's building up a terrible pressure. There must be more blood, or the scales will tip and swing the Committee of Public Safety itself up to the scaffold.
I know. The revolution's like Saturn. It devours its own children.
They need ballast. They need one heavy head.
They wouldn't dare.
Danton, you're a dead saint. The revolution has no use for relics. It tossed the king's bones into the gutter and smashed sacred statues on the church steps. Do you think they'd leave you standing on your monument?
But my name, the people!
Your name? You're a moderate. And so am I, and Camille and Hérault. To the people, moderation is the same as weakness. They kill everyone who drags his feet.
Very true. And the people are like children. They have to break everything open to see what's inside it.
After all, Robespierre is right in one sense. We are vicious. We enjoy ourselves. But the people don't enjoy themselves. Slaving away all day blunts their appetites. They can't get drunk because they can't afford to. They can't go whoring because their breath stinks of cheese and herrings, and that turns the girls off.
They hate people who enjoy themselves. The way eunuchs hate men.
They say we line our own pockets. And just between you and me, they might have something. Think of what's going to happen. Robespierre and the people will practice virtue. Saint-Just will write a 1,000-page thesis. And Collo will deliver another of his bloodthirsty perorations and send a score of people to the guillotine. I can just see it.
You're dreaming. They've never had the guts to act without me, so how can they move against me? The revolution's not finished yet. They'll come running to me when they need me.
We must act.
Ways will be found.
It'll be too late. We'll have lost by then.
Your lips are not so hungry. Words have cooled your kisses.
Oh, God. The time we've got through. Still, it was worth it. I'll see Robespierre. I'll ride him, I'll make him lose his temper, he'll give himself away then. Tomorrow. Good night, my friends. Good night, Lacroix.
I'm going. Danton, a woman's thighs will be your guillotine. A mound of Venus, your sepulchre.
I tell you yet again, he who impedes me when my sword is drawn is my enemy, whatever his motives.
I see no reason why we should go on killing.
The revolution has not yet fulfilled its purpose. Carry out a revolution by halves, and you dig your own graves. The aristocracy still lives. The robust strength of the people must supplant this effete, degenerate class. Vice must be punished, and virtue must rule through terror.
I just don't understand your concept of punishment. You and your morality, Robespierre! You've never taken bribes. You've never run up any debts. Your coat's always spotless. You've never got
pissed, and you've never had it off, have you? You've never screwed a woman. Robespierre, you're revoltingly virtuous. I'd be ashamed to primp about between heaven and earth for 30-odd years, looking as though I'd a lump of shit stuck under me nose, and all for the pitiful pleasure of lording it over somebody morally inferior to myself. Isn't there a small voice somewhere inside you that whispers quietly, secretly, Robespierre, you're a fake?
My conscience is clean.
Conscience is a mirror a monkey wanks in front of. Let's all go out and have our fun in our own way. What right have you got to turn the guillotine into a wash tub for other people's dirty linen, using human heads as cakes of soap just because your own coat's always well brushed? Lash out by all means if they spit on you or tear off your cravat, but why do it if they leave you in peace? Why should you dispatch people to their graves simply because they're true to themselves and not ashamed of it? Are you God's security chief? And if these sights are too much for your sensitive soul, as they are for that of your celestial master, I suggest you drape a flannel over your eyes.
Are you denying virtue?
Yes, and vice too. All men are sensual, some crude, some refined. Christ was the most refined of all. That's the only difference I see between men. Everybody acts according to his own nature. That is, he does that which does him good. It's cruel, isn't it, my spotless, incorruptible friend, to knock your halo off like this?
Danton, there are some circumstances in which vice becomes high treason.
But don't forbid it, no. You owe it too much, for God's sake. The blacker it is, the brighter shines your purity. To use your own jargon, the royal we, even our naughty deeds serve the Republic. Eh? Or you end up condemning innocent and guilty alike.
No one can point to a single innocent man who has been condemned.
You hear that, hero? Not one innocent man. Let's get out of here. It's time to show the people where we stand.
Go then. He thinks he can halt the wild horses of the revolution outside a brothel, like a coachman with his tired nags. They'll carry him off to the guillotine. My jargon. My halo. But wait. Wait. Is it really that? They'll say his giant figure eclipsed me, and I had to banish him from the sun. And what if they are right? Is it necessary? Yes, the Republic. Get him out of the light. It's almost absurd, the way my thoughts spy on each other. He must go. A man standing still in a crowd pressing forward will be trampled underfoot. We will not permit the revolution to run aground on the shallow scruples of these jaded spirits. Hack away the hand that holds it back. And if he tries to hang on with his teeth, then away with this gang that has stolen the aristocracy's clothes and caught syphilis from them. No virtue. The royal we. Halo. How that stings. I can't keep the thought out. There. He points his bloody finger straight at me. I pack it with swabs, but the blood still seeps through. I don't know which half of my brain is lying to the other. Night cordons the earth and spawns fearful dreams. Thoughts and desires that shun the light of day take shape now and fill the skull with horrors. They half become flesh, and whisper words of death to us. And what is our waking life but a brighter dream? We are all sleepwalkers, and our actions dream actions. In 1 hour, the mind races through more deeds than the body can perform in a year. Sin is in our thoughts. Whether thought becomes action is pure chance. Who's there? It's you, Saint-Just.
You saw Danton today?
Yes.
I met him also in the Palais Royal, outside the whorehouse. He had his revolutionary face pinned on. He was spouting slogans and cracking jokes with the sans-culotte. Whores were scampering around his legs, and the crowd was lapping up his words and whispering to each other what he'd said. We shall lose the initiative. We must strike. You can't delay any longer. We shall act without you. Our minds have made up.
Just what do you intend to do?
We'll summon the Legislative Committee, the Committee for General Security, and the Committee of Public Safety to a formal council.
It's very impressive.
We must lay him out in full armor and sacrifice his acolytes on the tomb. Lacroix?
That paltry upstart, former lawyer's clerk, now Lieutenant General of France. Go on.
Hero Sichel.
A fine profile.
He made a fine letterhead on the constitutional notepaper. We've done with such frills. He will go too. Camille.
Camille?
I think so. Read that.
This bloody Messiah, Robespierre, on his Calvary between two murderers, Couthon and Collot, where he sacrifices, but is not himself sacrificed. The holy sisters of the guillotine stand at his feet like Mary and Magdalene. Saint-Just lies in his bosom like John the Apostle and relays to the convention his master's apocalyptic revelations. He carries his head as though it contained the Holy Sacrament.
I'll make him carry his like Saint-Denis.
Must we accept that the immaculate frock coat of this Messiah is the winding sheet of France? That his thin fingers tapping on the rostrum are the knives of the guillotine? Then on about Barrère. So, Camille, you too. Away with them. Have you prepared the indictments?
That's taken care of. You did all the groundwork at the Jacobin Club.
I wanted to frighten them.
I need only implement your threats.
Be quick about it. No long death agonies. I seem to have grown squeamish these last few days. Be quick.
Danton, we have no time to waste.
Yet time wastes us. How tedious it is to have to roll out of bed every morning and start setting one foot in front of the other. Millions have done it before us, millions more will go through the same motions. And what's worse, we all consist of two halves, each doing identical things. It all happens in duplicate. God, it's depressing.
You're talking like a child.
The dying often become childish.
This delay of yours is fatal, and you're dragging your friends down with you. Rouse yourself! Attack the tyranny of the committee. Talk daggers. Galvanize the tribune. Invoke Brutus. Give vent to your fury. At least don't let's crawl to our deaths like that pathetic Hebert.
You've got a bad memory. You called me a dead saint. You spoke truer than you thought. I went to see the section leaders. They were respectful. Respectful as undertakers. I'm a relic, and relics are thrown in the gutter, you were right.
Why did you let things get this far?
I got bored with it all, I suppose. Always rigged out in the same costume, frowning the same expression, jaw jutting. I'd had enough. I wanted a quiet life, and I've got one. The revolution is retiring me, but not quite in the way I'd expected. Besides, who's with us anymore? Oh, our whores might scratch the eyes of the guillotine sisters, but that's about all. Virtue is the new regime. Robespierre's handed the tablets down from Sinai. We didn't make the revolution. The revolution made us. Even if we could reverse it, I'd rather go to the guillotine myself than send other people to it. I'm sick of it. Why should human beings slaughter one another? I think there was a mistake made in our creation. Something missing in us that I don't have a name for. But we'll not find it by surgical operation, so why hack each other to pieces?
You might have phrased that with more finesse. You could have heightened it with a tragic metaphor. Why must humanity in its everlasting wolfishness devour its own flesh?
Well, I leave the embroidery to you, Camille. You're a good echo boy.
Boy, nothing. I'm the same age as Jesus Christ, an age fatal to revolutionaries.
So, Danton, we leave France to her executioners?
Do you really think it matters whether people die on the guillotine, or of fever, or of old age? See, there's something to be said for going out with a bang, leaving the stage with panache, applause still ringing in your ears. It's not so horrendous to have a lifespan cut short, especially if your coat was too big and your limbs never quite filled it out. A ration of life's elixir should top up a brandy glass and not be sprinkled over the bottom of a barrel. At least we'd get one good mouthful that way. Oh, God. I have to say it. Life just isn't worth the effort it takes to hang on to it.
Leave the country, then.
If I could take my country with me in the welts of my boots, fine. Look, this is the point. They'd never dare lay a hand on me. I must get dressed.
There he goes.
He doesn't believe a word that he says. Sheer laziness, that's all. He'd rather be guillotined than have to make a speech.
Ah, dear lady, picture, if you would, the gardens at twilight. A bell chiming over the meadows. A solitary star.
The scent of a flower. The hum of bees on a summer lawn. The true contemplation of nature. You see, Eugenie, only virtue has eyes for these.
Dear Mamma, I only have eyes for you.
What a sweet child.
You see that well-developed young woman with that old boy over there?
Yes, I know her.
They say her hairdresser permed her pubic hairs.
You're awful, and so are you.
The old buffer's brought her out for a walk in the sun to show her off. Her tummy's already swollen. He's kidding himself it was he who operated the pump.
You really are dreadful. She'll blush in a minute.
That would bring me up.
Beats me why people just don't plant themselves in the street and laugh loudly in each other's faces. They should be laughing from the windows and out of their graves. Laughing at the gods till heaven cracks. The earth spins with laughter.
A quite phenomenal discovery, I'd assure you. It changes the whole face of technology. It's a great step forward for humanity.
Have you seen the new play? Well, there's this huge Tower of Babylon with a great maze of arches, staircases, platforms, gangways, all floated up into the air. Well, it makes you dizzy. Fantastic brain dreamed that up.
Oh, what is it?
Nothing. Your hand, sir. It's this puddle here. Oh, thank you so much. I only just got over it. That could be extremely dangerous.
Surely you weren't afraid?
Yes, the Earth has only a thin crust, you know. I always think I might fall through when I come across a hole like that. You have to step warily. It might cave in. You could easily go through. But do go and see that play. I highly recommend it. I really do.
I tell you that unless they have replicas of everything in the theatre or at the opera, or facsimiles in oil paint or papier-mâché strewn around art galleries, people are blind and deaf to life about them. Carve out a wooden puppet, jerk it up and down, listen to it babble some blank verse. What a well-rounded character they'll gush. What plausible motivation. Take any old cliché, stale proverb, half-baked idea, deck it out in jacket and pants, smear its face with grease paint, and let the creature moan and beat its breast for 3 endlessly boring acts until it's finally put out of its misery by shooting itself dead. Perfect, they cry. How true. What a superb, tragic catharsis. How divine. What art. Turn those same people out of the theatre onto the streets, and what a shock they get. Their view of God is blotted out by all his bad imitators. Their eyes glaze over with boredom, of life itself swarming around them in all its richness and intensity. They see and hear nothing. All they do is go to the theatre, read poetry and novels, posture, talk, and grimace like the characters they find there. And then they say to God's real creations, how commonplace, how banal. I tell you, the Greeks knew what they were talking about when they said a Pygmalion statue came to life, but that it bore no children.
Of course, an artist is like ice when he looks at human nature. Take David. In September, when they threw the murdered corpses out of the prisons into the street, this great painter went around sketching them, saying, I'm catching the last spasms of life in these bastards.
What do you think, Lucille?
I don't know. I just like watching you talk.
Do you listen to me?
Of course.
Well, am I right? Do you really know what I'm talking about?
Not really.
Well?
They've warned me the Committee of Public Safety is going to arrest me. I've been offered a place of refuge. They want my head. Well, they can have it. What difference does it make? I wish they would take it. I'll know how to die well. It's simpler than living.
Danton, there is still time.
No. I would never have thought.
Damned laziness.
I'm not lazy. I'm tired. Even my feet are as sore as hell.
Where are you going?
Oh, no.
Seriously, where?
For a walk, young man, for a walk.
Oh, Camille.
Hush, Mara.
Oh, and I think that this had to them. Camille, please tell me that I'm crazy. Please, that I don't know what I'm saying.
Be still. Danton and I are 2 different people.
The earth is so broad and there are many, many things on it. Why should they want this? Who would take this from me? It would be wicked. What would they want him for?
How many times do I have to tell you? You needn't get so upset. I spoke with Robespierre yesterday. He was friendly to me. Things are a bit strained at the moment. We see things from different viewpoints, that's all.
But go and see him now.
We went to school together. He was always moody and kept to himself. I was the only one who paid him any attention. I made him laugh sometimes. He's always shown me a lot of affection. Now go.
So quickly, my friend. Go on, then. No, come here. Now go. Go. These are terrible times. But that's how it is. What can we do? We must keep a hold on ourselves. Farewell, farewell. Whoever thought we would say farewell? Why does that of all things come into my head now? It came of its own accord. As you left, it seemed to me he would go farther and farther from me, like a stone flung into space. How empty the room seems all of a sudden. The windows are open as if a corpse had been laid out in here.
I was told once of a sickness that wipes out memory. Death must be something like that. Sometimes the hope comes to me that death's even stronger and wipes out everything. If only that were true. If I go to the grave, at least my conscience dies with me. Whereas here, even here in safety and solitude, my memory lives and murders all my hopes. A life of agony, or death and oblivion. Not really a difficult choice. I'm only flirting with death. It's rather pleasant to make eyes at her from a safe distance. I have to laugh at it all. There's such a sense of stability in me. Tomorrow and the next day and the day after that will be no different from today. Nothing's going to change. It's a false alarm to try and scare me. They'd never dare.
You were shouting.
Shout?
You said murder, and then you cried out September.
Not I, it wasn't I. Shouted. I was only thinking.
Trembling.
I should think I am with the walls clacking away so. I'm far gone if my feverish thoughts can spring out of my head and come hissing back at me, plattering madly through lips of stone.
George.
Oh, surely it's weird. I'd rather not think at all if my thoughts are going to take on a life of their own. There are thoughts that should be heard by no one. It's bad if they cry out like babies the minute they're born. It's bad.
God keep you in your right mind. George, do you know who I am?
Why shouldn't I? You're a human being, and you're a woman and my wife. And the Earth has 5 continents. Europe, Asia, Africa, America, Australia. And twice 2 makes 4. You see, I'm in my right senses. You said the voice shouted September. You did say that.
Yes. I heard it all through the house.
When I went to the window, how still the city is, all the lights are out.
There's a child crying.
When I went to the window, there was this horrible scream. It screamed and screamed through all the streets. September!
You were dreaming, Danton. Try to calm yourself.
Dreaming? Oh, yes, I dream too. Something else I'll tell you in a minute. My head's still spinning. Now. I have it now. The globe of the world writhed underneath me as it bolted from its course. I grabbed hold of it like a wild stallion. I clung onto its mane with giant arms and dug my heels into its ribs. We were hurtling out over a huge abyss, my head bent back, my hair streaming out. And then I cried out in terror and I woke and I went to the window. And then I heard it, Julie. September. Why does it speak to me, that word? That of all words, why does it stretch out its bloody accusing fingers at me? Help me, Julie. My brain is numb. What happened in September, Julie?
The kings were 40 hours from Paris.
The fortresses had fallen. The aristocrats were in the city.
The Republic was lost.
We couldn't let our enemies in Paris stab us in the back. We'd have been fools. 2 enemies on a single plank. We or they. The strong would push the weaker off. It was necessary, wasn't it? Yes.
Yes.
Yes. We killed them. Yes, but it wasn't murder. It was civil war.
You saved your country.
Yes, I saved it. It was self-defense. We did what we had to do. And the man on the cross made it easy for himself. It must needs be that offences come, but woe to that man by whom the offence cometh. Offences must come. That very must came to me. But who ordained that must? Who? What is it inside us that lies, whores, cheats, and murders? We're puppets on wires, pulled by unknown powers. We're nothing in ourselves, nothing at all. We're swords, the hidden spirits of history fight with. I'm quite now, Julie.
Quite still, my love.
Yes, Julie. Come to bed.
During last night, 4 members of the National Convention were arrested. I know for certain that one of them was Danton. The name of the others I do not know, but whoever they are, I demand that they be given a hearing in the convention. Citizens, I declare to you, I hold Danton to be as innocent as myself. And I know of no accusation that can be leveled against me. I have no intention of attacking any member of the Committee of Public Safety, nor the General Security Committee. But I have good reason to believe that personal malice and bigotry might be in danger of robbing liberty of her greatest servants. In particular, that man whom in 1792, by virtue of his energy and fighting spirit, saved France from the invader. That man deserves to be heard. If he is accused of high treason, then I move that he be allowed to defend himself here in the convention before his fellow deputies.
Not for a long time has such an uproar been heard in this assembly. Clearly, an issue of some consequence has arisen. Indeed, it has. This day will determine whether the interests of a gang of ambitious hypocrites will prevail over the interests of our country. How can you, citizens, so far deny your fundamental beliefs as to grant to a few individuals today what only a short while ago you refused Chabot, Delaunay, and Fabre? Why are these men so different? I confess, I am not greatly impressed by the flattering speeches people bestow on themselves and their friends. We know from experience just how much these are worth. We do not inquire what a man has done at this or that particular point of the revolution. We weigh his entire political career in the balance. Legendre appears touchingly unaware of the names of the arrested men, and yet the whole convention knows them. His friend Lacroix is one of them. How is it Legendre appears not to know this? Because he knows full well Lacroix is indefensible. He has cited Danton alone. because he thinks a special mystique attaches to his name. No. We want no privileged beings. We will have no idolatry. What is it that elevates Danton above Lafayette, Dumouriez, and Brissot, above Fabre, Chabot, and Hébert? I am most intrigued to know. What is it we find in them that we cannot find also in Danton? I do not recall any eagerness on your part to spare them. So what gives Danton this special claim over his fellow citizens? Could it be it has been conferred on him by certain individuals either tricked by him or who pretended to be tricked, who harnessed themselves to his chariot in their lust for riches and power? The more he has betrayed the trust of patriots who believed in him, the harsher will he feel the backlash from all friends of liberty. His friends will try to frighten you with your own machinery of power. They will squawk about the tyranny of the committees, as though the trust which the people placed in you, and which you in turn vested in those committees, were not a sufficient guarantee of your patriotism. They act as though everyone were going about shaking and trembling in their boots. But I assert before you all that anyone who trembles, that man is guilty. Because innocence never trembles in the face of public vigilance. They have tried to frighten me, too. Oh, yes. They have given me to understand that it might not all stop at Danton. The danger could embrace me as well. They wrote letters to me saying that I was still a part of Danton's clique. As if that old association with all its fraudulent values could persuade me to bridle my passion and my zeal for liberty. I vow to you, nothing will stop me, though Danton's danger become my danger. We all of us need to find in ourselves some fortitude and courage. Only criminals and base spirits fear to see the downfall of their own kind, because without the comfort of the pack, they stand revealed for what they are, naked in the light of truth. And if there are such spirits in this assembly, then there are also men of high integrity. My ever watchful soul, with restless ardor, follows every movement of our glorious revolution. Citizens, the number of traitors to freedom is not large. We have only to strike off a few heads and our country is saved. Our country, citizens, this lovely land, mother of liberty, caressed by nature's touch and benediction. I demand that Legendre's motion be rejected.
Now you know. Paris is a slaughterhouse. Listen to the tumbrils rattling to the guillotine. Now you see how the great sickle of equality slices off all heads without distinction. The lava of the revolution is unstoppable. The guillotine makes good Republicans. The galleries cheer. The Roman tribunes rub their hands with delight. But what they do not hear in every one of the words they utter is the death rattle of their victims. Follow through your rhetoric till it takes human shape. Look round you. Everything you have actually said, a literal translation of your own words. These wretched creatures, their execution, and the guillotine are your speeches come alive. You build your system like that Sultan Bajazet built his pyramids out of human heads.
You're right. Exactly a year ago, I created the Revolutionary Tribunal. I wanted to prevent another September massacre. I hoped to save the innocent. I ask God and man to forgive me that. All I've done is ritualize murder. I'd hoped to have you out of here, my friend.
What's the odds if we do get out? We'll only be thrown into another prison. Either the big one they call the world, or the small one known as the grave.
There is one way. It's not strictly according to the letter of the law. Well, we don't draw lots for the jury. We pick our own men, those we can depend on.
That would work. It'll be quite a banquet. 19 accused, skillfully blended. The 5 forgers, a few merchant bankers, a sprinkling of foreigners, a spicy tribunal. It should keep the people quiet for a while. Now then, reliable jurors, such as?
Leroy. He's stone deaf. He won't hear a word of the defense. Danton can yell himself hoarse. Girard. Now with him, it's a matter of principle. Nobody who comes before the tribunal must be allowed to escape. So, Renaudin.
Why Renaudin? He helped a couple of priests to get off.
He is one of us. He came to me the other day, demanded that all condemned should be bled a little before execution, to make them whiter behind the gills. He was irritated. He thought they looked too cocky on the platform.
Ah, good. I rely on you, then.
Leave it to me.
Georges Jacques Danton. The convention accuses you of conspiring with Mirabeau, with Dumouriez, with Orléans, and the Girondists, with foreigners, and with the party of Louis XVII.
My voice, which I have so often raised in the cause of the people, will make short work of this pack of lies. I will shame those who accuse me if only they have the guts to show their faces. The committee must appear, otherwise I will not answer the charge. I need them both as accusers and witnesses. Why should I give a damn what you say?
Danton, boldness is characteristic of criminals. The innocent have no call to lose their composure.
Boldness for oneself is to be condemned, but the national audacity and fire, which I have so often embodied as the champion of freedom, that is the most laudable of virtues. It is that audacity that I hurl at my paltry accusers. Do you expect me, a revolutionary, to defend myself with academic detachment? Men of my temper are the shock troops of the revolution. You cannot make a revolution without us. We are possessed by the spirit of freedom. I am summoned to this palace of varieties. Correction. The bar of stern, unbending justice. I am accused of having conspired with Mirabeau, Du Maurier, Orleans, and licking the boots of sundry despots. I'm surprised you don't include the Doge of Venice and the Tsar of Russia.
I urge you not to get so heated. Remember Marat. He had some respect for his judges.
You've laid your filthy hands on my whole life. I think it has a right to rise up and confront you. I will crush you with the weight of my achievements. I don't say this out of any sense of pride. Fate rules our actions, but she chooses only strong natures for her instruments. I declared war on the monarchy at the Field of Mars. I toppled it at the storming of the Tuileries. A year ago, I killed it and threw down the head of France's king as a gauntlet to all the other kings of Europe. When I look at this vile document, my own manhood shakes. I demand that the committee appear. My accusers must appear. I will unmask these vermin and ram them back down the holes they crawled from.
Do you hear this bell?
The voice of a man defending his life and honor must round the tinkling of your little bell. In September, I fed the young cubs of the revolution on the chopped up flesh of the aristocracy. My voice hammered swords for the people from the treasure chests of the elite. My voice was the hurricane that wrecked the satellites of tyranny on a sea of bayonets.
You have strained your voice, Danton. You are far too worked up. You must rest. We will conclude your defense next time. This session is adjourned.
Blood of the September massacres has made him invulnerable. What does Robespierre say?
He looks and behaves as though he had a great deal to say. Actually, he says nothing. The jury must declare they have enough evidence and put an end to the hearings.
That is impossible. It would never work.
They've got to go, even if we have to strangle them with our bare hands. Dare. Danton didn't teach us that word for nothing. The revolution won't stumble over their corpses. But the revolution is a wild mistress. If Danton stays alive, his hands will be up her skirts. He'd rape liberty. I must think about this. We need more evidence against them. I shall make out a report.
Yes, Saint-Just. String together your sentences. Every comma a sword thrust, every period a severed head.
The convention must decree that the tribunal continue the trial without interruption, and that any person who fails to show a due respect for the law or who creates a disturbance will be excluded from the hearing.
You have the true revolutionary instinct. It all sounds so moderate, yet it's bound to succeed.
I'm counting on your support. There are those in the convention with the same disease as Danton. They fear the same cure, but they have some of their spirit back now, and they're going to start howling about unconstitutional procedure.
All executioners are guilty of unconstitutional conduct if they are too eager.
Someone's got to do something about Danton. He's very dangerous. The convention's too timid. It needs setting alight.
Saint-Just. Deliver your message in rainbow-hued prose.
Did you hear him use the word cure? They will end up prescribing the guillotine as a cure for the pox. They're not fighting the moderates, they are fighting vice.
From now on, vice and moderation are the same thing.
Robespierre wants to turn the guillotine into a pulpit.
What a cushion to kneel on while he prays. Now, what are those?
Petitions. Some prisoners in Saint-Pelagie are dying. They've asked for a doctor.
Well, they won't need him. That much less work for the executioner, isn't it?
Some of the women are pregnant.
Good. Then we won't need coffins for their children.
Here's another one from an old woman in Châtelet. Madame wishes to die. She begs it of us. She's been there only 4 weeks. Answer's easy. Citizeness, you have not yet wished long enough for death. When are you coming for another weekend with the girls at Clichy?
When the doctor clears me. Pigs. You have not yet wished long enough for death. Those words should have rotted, the tongue that spoke them. And I... When Danton's assassins broke into the prisons in September, one prisoner was rather clever. Quick off the mark, he grabbed a knife and stabbed his cellmate, a priest, through the heart. In the confusion, he was taken for an assassin and escaped. Who can blame him for it? He changed sides just in time. Am I too becoming an assassin by joining the Committee of Public Safety? Is there any real difference between the knife and the guillotine?
You raised hell, Danton. You really did. If you'd opened your lungs sooner, things might be a bit different now, eh? Especially when death comes so obscenely close. Can't you smell her ruttish, stinking breath?
Why can't death rape a man? Tear its prize from our hot limbs in a savage fight. These icy formalities.
I feel as though I'd fallen into a grain shaft. My arms and legs were being slowly and systematically twisted and pulled off.
The guillotine only takes a split second.
But how long does that really last? It might last 100 years. That flash of pain could have infinitely fine gradations. 1,000,000 tiny ratchets. Death could torture life out of us, tugging out each stringy filament one by one. We could feel the agony screaming down every capillary and be totally conscious of each minute step of our body's disintegration.
Well, it's all one. All our life, we're buried alive like kings under 3 or 4 layers of coffins. The sky, our houses, our coats, our shirts. We hammer and beat and scratch at the coffin lid for 50 years. As for death itself, it's only a less organized form of decay than life. Only if we could believe in total annihilation, that'd be some comfort. But we must fight on, my friends. We must roar. They'll have to tear every drop of life's blood out of my body.
We appeal direct to the people. We demand the appointment of a commission of inquiry. My voice is still vigorous enough to bury the Committee of Public Safety.
Silence! In the name of the Republic, in the name of the law.
I will garrison the citadel of reason, open fire with a cannon of troops, and blast my enemies off the face of the earth.
In view of the insulting conduct of the accused, the tribunal is hereby empowered to continue the investigation without interruption and to exclude from the trial any prisoner who fails to show due respect for the law.
I ask all present, have we defied the tribunal, the people, or the National Convention? Citizens, the Republic is in danger and does not know it. I see a great catastrophe overtaking France. Dictatorship. It has torn off its mask, bared its grim visage, and strides with dreadful purpose over our smashed and broken bodies. Look on the murderous cowards, these vultures of the Committee of Public Safety. I accuse Robespierre, Saint-Just, and their hangmen of high treason. They would choke the Republic to death in its own blood. The cart ruts of the tumbrils are highways by which foreign armies will thrust to the heart of our country. How long must the footprints of liberty be the graves of men? You ask for hunks of bread, they toss you severed heads. You thirst, they make you slurp from the trough of blood at the guillotine steps.
I have noticed that some in this assembly have remarkably sensitive hearing. They quail at the mention of the word blood. I feel that a few general observations are called for to convince them that we are no more cruel in the way we go about things than nature herself or indeed time. Nature follows her own laws, quietly and inexorably. Man is destroyed whenever he comes into conflict with them. A slight change in atmospheric conditions, a subterranean blaze, a sudden shift in the geological strata or in the balance of a mass of water, and a plague, a volcano, an earthquake, or a flood bury thousands. And the consequence? An insignificant and barely perceptible alteration of physical nature which would have left hardly a trace were it not for the corpses in its wake. I ask you, shall the moral universe be more considerate in her revolutions than the physical universe? May not an idea scythe down all opposition as does a law of physics? Above all, shall an experience which shatters and remolds the entire structure of man's moral universe cower at the sight of blood? The forces of history operate through us, just as the forces of nature operate through flood and through fire. What matter whether a man dies during an earthquake or during the revolution? The steps of human progress are slow. One can count them only by centuries. Behind each step rise up the graves of entire generations to arrive at the simplest discovery, the most elementary truth, has cost the lives of millions who have died on the way. Surely then it is understandable today, when the pace of history has accelerated so rapidly, that many more men should lose their breath. We know this, since all men were created under the same circumstances. All men are therefore equal, apart from those differences which nature herself has imposed. Everyone then is entitled to the same advantages, but special privileges must belong to no man, nor to any class. Every application of this statement of principle, when translated into reality, has cost human life. The storming of the Bastille, the execution of the king, the purging of the moderates are its punctuation marks. It has required only 4 years to turn this idea into fact. Under normal circumstances, it would have taken centuries and been punctuated by generations. Is it so astounding that the torrent of the revolution should disgorge its corpses at every bend and turn? Our work is far from done. We have yet to conclude our proposition. Shall 1,000 or so extra corpses hinder us from doing so? Moses
led his people through the Red Sea and on into the desert until the old corrupt generation withered away. Then, and only then, he founded his new order. Citizens, we have neither the Red Sea nor the desert, but we have war, and we do have the guillotine. The revolution is like the daughters of Peleus. She dismembers mankind to give it a new birth. Humanity will rise again from this maelstrom of blood, like the earth from the waters of the great flood. We call upon tyrannicides of the future, who across Europe bear under their cloaks the dagger of Brutus. Nay, we summon all the secret enemies of tyranny throughout the entire earth to share with us this sublime hour.
It's all over. He terrified them, so they're killing him. Go to him. Tell him I've seen him for the last time. I want to remember that. I couldn't bear to see him the way he is. Here. Give him this. And tell him he'll not go alone. He'll understand. And come back straight away. I want to catch his expression in your eyes.
Camille. Camille. Listen, you make me laugh at those long robes of stone and that iron mask in front of your face. Can't you bend down and touch me? Where are your arms? I will lure you down, my sweet bird. A star shines bright at my darling's window, brighter than the moon. But there's a reaper waiting in the shadows. How many 100,000s fall beneath his sickle's pitiless call? No, no. Come down, my good friend. But you can't get through the gate in those awful stiff grey robes. It's not funny anymore, it's cruel. Stop it. You don't move at all. You're fixed there. Why don't you say something? You frighten me. Listen, Camille, people are saying that you must die. Die. I laugh in their dreary faces. I can't help it. Die. What kind of word is that? Tell me, Camille. Die. I must think about it. There it is, there. I'll run after it and catch it. Come, my love. Help me catch it. Come, come.
Lucille! Lucille!
It's quiet now. I mustn't keep him waiting. Come, good divine, whose blessing sends us all to sleep. How sweet it is to say goodbye. I've only to close the door behind me. So. The sun's gone down. The face of the earth was so sharp in the light. But now it's as grave and calm as a dying woman's. How lovely the twilight is on her brow and cheeks. Paler and paler she grows. She floats like a corpse down the stream of the air. Will no one catch her by her golden hair, draw her in and bury her? I will tread softly. I won't kiss her lest a breath or sigh should wake her. Stars are coming out. They glisten like tears in the firmament. There must be a terrible grief behind the eyes that shed them. Sleep. Sleep.
I read a story once when I was a child. It terrified me. There was a small boy, an orphan who found himself alone in the dead world. He searched day and night, for there was nobody left anywhere. And because there was nobody left on earth, he thought he'd go up to heaven. The moon seemed to beckon him kindly. But when he reached the moon, he found it was a stick of rotten wood. And then he went to the sun. And when he reached the sun, he found it was a withered sunflower. And when he came to the stars, they were powdered glass scattered on a heap of rubble. And when he wanted to go back to Earth, the Earth was an upturned bucket. He was alone. He sat down and cried. And he's there still. All alone. Tomorrow, I'll be a broken fiddle with no more tunes to play. Tomorrow I'll be an empty bottle. I've drunk all the wine, but I'm still sober. Every tick of the clock slides the walls closer around me till they're narrow as a coffin. Of course, dying is a wretched thing. But death's only a parody of birth. We die naked and helpless like newborn infants. We're given a shroud for our swaddling clothes. We can whimper just as well in the grave as in the cradle. The world is chaos. Nothingness is the world God yet to be born.
Your hair and nails grew to such a length when you're dead. It's disgusting.
I've got lice. If it's living, I want to see it. Right up to the last second, I want to die with my eyes open.
Well, you will anyway. Guillotine doesn't bother to pull your eyelids down. What a god-awful mess I'm leaving behind. Not one of them has the first idea about government.
They say we prostituted liberty.
So liberty's a whore. Now she's having a platonic affair with the immaculate Robespierre. But she'll betray him. He won't outlive me by 6 months.
The idiots will shout, "Long live the Republic," as we pass.
Let them. When history opens its graves, dictatorship will choke on the smell of our corpses.
It stank enough when we were alive. Those are just phrases for posterity, Danton. Who the hell cares about our exit lines?
We all know one another here. There's no need for any of us to play to the gallery, to strike heroic attitudes. Let's save ourselves the trouble.
We do better to sit down and roar at the obituary of existence.
Right. I put this to you, my friends. Is not the vault of heaven with its starry firmament but a salver set before the gods, full of tiny fish wriggling in their death agony?
And do those fish go on dying to the end of time, to the eternal accompaniment of the gods' laughter?
Endlessly titillated by the dying paroxysms, the play of colors on the falling scales.
Goodbye, Danton!
Goodbye, lad!
You kill us on the day you lose your reason!
else we'll break their necks on our graves!
He thinks his body's a dunghill of freedom. Farewell, Danton.
Goodbye, my friend. The guillotine's the best doctor. I leave my whores to Saint-Just and my balls to Robespierre.
I'm sorry, Danton. I don't seem to be able to manage a joke right now. The time's come.
Would you be harsher than death? Can you stop our heads kissing in the basket?
I think I'm beginning to understand it. To die. To die. Everything has the right to live, everything. That little fly there, the birds. Why not he? Why not he? Surely the river of life would stop if a single drop was spilled. The earth itself would be mortally wounded by such a blow. All things are in motion. Clocks tick. The bells ring out, people run, water flows, everything except... No. It shall not happen, no. I shall sit upon the ground and scream so that everything stops dead, nothing moves any more. It's no use. Everything's just as it was. The house, the street, wind blowing, clouds passing. We shall just have to bear it.
We call upon tyrannicides of the future who across Europe bear under their cloaks the dagger of Brutus. May we summon all the secret enemies of tyranny throughout the entire earth to share with us this sublime hour.
3 months later, Robespierre and Saint-Just were executed.